What's up, everybody? So, I listened to your input and I've changed the name of the channel to The Fantasy Football Strategist. I'm going to cover both redraft and dynasty content. And for every bit of news we get, I'm going to cover the 2024 ramifications as well as the potential future dynasty ramifications. With that being said, Ceedee Lamb is potentially holding out for a new contract. So let's get into the 2024 implications and potentially the dynasty implications here. In an article by Aiden Davis of bloggingtheboys.com, as the Dallas Cowboys approach training camp, a familiar face might be missing from the team. Calvin Watkins of Dallas Morning News reported that Ceedee Lamb, the 25-year-old player who led the league in receptions this past year and set a single-season club record for receiving yards, is expected to miss training camp if he doesn't receive a new contract. This front office seems to have a pattern with these contract issues, as we've seen with Dez Bryant. It's no wonder this kind of news doesn't come as a shock. Ceedee Lamb might be feeling frustrated that the Dallas front office has not awarded contract extensions, while other top receivers are receiving the security they need to perform at an elite level. Lamb is entering the final year of his rookie contract, earning $17,991,000, which represents just 6.9% of the current cap space, as reported by overthecap.com. So essentially, what he's most likely feeling inside is, hey, I've been an elite wide receiver one for years for you, and I was the wide receiver one this past year. What do I have to do to get a new contract? And that's quite fair, to be honest with you. Looking into what he's done the past 4 years, in his rookie year, he finished as the wide receiver 22 overall, finishing with 74 catches for 935 yards and 5 touchdowns. Then he followed it up with an even better year, finishing as the wide receiver 19 with 79 catches for 1,102 yards and 6 touchdowns. Then he stepped it up once again in a big way, finishing as the wide receiver 5 with 107 catches for 1,359 yards and 9 touchdowns. And then he said, "Hold my beer. I'm going to finish as the wide receiver 1 this year, finishing with 135 catches for 1,749 yards and 12 touchdowns." I mean, at this point, I don't really know what more they want from this man. He was the best wide receiver. On a week-to-week basis, the only wide receiver you could reasonably project to have more points than him was Tyreek Hill. I don't know what they want from him. Is he really capable of having a better year than that? Probably. I mean, every year he's gotten better and better, but man, they're going to really mess up, and they're going to lose him if they don't go ahead and pay him. I don't know what they're doing, and the thing is, it's only going to get worse for them if they choose to wait. If they were smart, they would have already paid him so that they don't have to keep paying more and more as the wide receiver market exponentially increases in value moment by moment. They're going to be in a world of hurt if they don't just hurry up and bite the bullet here. Looking into his advanced stats, it gets better from here, to be honest with you. He finished first in the league with 135 receptions. He finished second in the league with 1,749 receiving yards. He finished first in yards after catch with 680. And to top it all off, he finished first in the league with 14 receiving touchdowns. Then when we get to look at his win rates, they still speak to an elite wide receiver 1. He finished first in total route wins with 323. He finished ninth in the league with a 54.3 overall win rate. He finished first with a 42.9% win rate versus man. He also finished ninth in fantasy points per target versus man with 2.14. Also, a sneak peek in fantasy points per route, he finished third with 0.67 points per route. This is ridiculous stuff. Overall, just a consistent elite wide receiver 1. I have no idea what Dallas is doing here. They have no leverage here. What are they going to do if they lose Ceedee Lamb? They're going to be in a world of hurt. He is their passing offense. I mean, the Brandon Cooks is their wide receiver too. Who knows what Jerry Jones is thinking here? So when we look at his career progression in targets per game, it speaks to the fact that he's an elite talent in essentially their entire passing offense. So in his rookie year, he finished with 6.94. Then he ramped it right on up to 7.5 in his second year. then ramped it right back on up to 9.18 in his third year, and then once again this past year ramped it right up again to 10.65. He is essentially their entire passing offense. I guess you could count Jake Ferguson, who's just a mid tight end being propped up by Dak Prescott. But then when we look at the 2023 leaders in targets per game, he finished third behind Keenan Allen and Tyreek Hill, and just above players such as Devontae Adams, ASRB, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Pittman, Diggs, and Puka. I mean, you earn targets, and that really, if he's the third most targeted player on a per game basis, it is what it is. You don't, you earn these targets. He's an elite wide receiver one by every metric imaginable, really. So do we think he has another elite wide receiver one season? Well, anything sub 20% in a targets per route run rate is suboptimal for a wide receiver one. I don't think we have to worry there. Through week 16 of this past year, he had a 26.99 targets per route run rate. In fact, it was 7th in the league after Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, and Jalen Waddle. So, I mean, he's getting the targets that he deserves and earning them at a high rate and being incredibly efficient. In fact, one of the most efficient players with this target rate. He absolutely deserves these targets. He is not being force-fed targets just for the sake of it. So yeah, I absolutely think Ceedee Lamb is an elite wide receiver one this year. So in terms of his redraft value, he is a top 3 wide receiver. No doubt about it. You could potentially have Tyreek Hill over him. You could maybe argue a Justin Jefferson, maybe a Jamar Chase, but I mean, he would personally be my wide receiver one in redraft. He's connected to a pretty good quarterback in Dak Prescott, so, man, draft him if you can. He would be my first wide receiver off the board. In terms of a dynasty thought process, in the situation in which he's in, he's absolutely fine. And unless he goes to a new team with a quarterback that's garbage, which he's still probably going to be really good, he's once again going to be a perennial top 5 wide receiver. I don't see how this changes really unless he gets Garrett Wilson, but I'm sure they'll come to their senses once the receiving market skyrockets and they just have to pay him more. But there's no way he's leaving Dallas. Come on, let's be real. He's going to be an elite wide receiver one, and in Dynasty, he is probably my wide receiver 2 just behind Justin Jefferson. I mean, we're not really sure what he would look like without a good quarterback, but I wouldn't be worried in the slightest. At worst, he's going to be a top 5 option. He's my second ranked dynasty asset in terms of at least wide receivers. So I would not be looking to trade him unless you could get an elite tier wide receiver plus for him. And even then, depending on what the plus is, I don't even know if it would be worth it, to be honest with you. Hey guys, the Fantasy Football Strategist here. Please remember to like and subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me. And remember that I am your news hub for breaking NFL news and the redraft and dynasty ramifications of said news. Y'all have a great day.